Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S25 and take a look at it and see how it compares against the iPhone 16 and see if either one of these phones are basically the ones that I'd recommend purchasing for you. If there's other ones, if there's other better devices, let's go and take a look at it throughout this whole entire video. First things first though, if you do want to go ahead and pick up this particular device or any of these phones, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the iPhone 16, which came out a little bit earlier this year, on the front side of this particular device, you're basically going to be going through and getting the 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. Now within this type of panel, you're definitely going to be getting like a pretty solid experience for the most part. I feel like both these phones, are giving you really good displays, but definitely with something like the iPhone 16, it's a 2000 nits of brightness panel. It's going to be giving you, 60 hertz display as well, so that's not really going to be that crazy good. But it is going to be a pretty okay panel when it kind of comes down to it. And I do think that in and of itself is kind of one of those things to keep in mind there for the most part. So not a terrible panel, but definitely for a phone that came out this year. It is quite surprising because you do kind of feel like Apple could have done a little bit of a better job here, but that's kind of what's going on within this type of panel and this type of display. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. On the Samsung Galaxy S25, on the other hand, you're basically going to be going through and getting a 6.2-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. So this type of phone panel is going to be a little tiny bit different because it's not really going to be like the nicest panel of all time compared to the Ultras, but it is going to be a much better panel than the iPhone 16s. This phone is going to be giving you 2600 nits of brightness, a 6.2-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display, and it's 120 hertz. This is one of those really, really big situations to kind of think about because in almost every single way I can imagine, this is going to be a substantially better looking panel than the iPhone 16. The 16's panel, like I said, is like alright, but that, Galaxy S25's panel is definitely far better. And that is, once again, the panel that I would look at and recommend to people. So, if you're in the market and you're wanting to go and buy a phone with the better panel here, it probably would end up being something like the Samsung Galaxy S25. This is a much better panel. Both have USB Type-C ports here. The sides are completely flat on both, which is always nice to have. On the back side, you're getting a frosted glass back on the backside of both these panels. So I think this in and of itself is a really, really nice thing to basically have, that you can go through and get that type of experience on both, because they both, I love having frosted glass backs. You're getting a triple camera setup on the backside of the Galaxy S25. With the iPhone 16, you're basically getting that dual camera setup. So that right there could also be like kind of an interesting thing to kind of think about there as well. Now, for me personally, I do think if you are in the market and you are going to go through and like pick up a device, I think both these devices give you a really good experience and do a really good job at kind of, handling and managing a majority of things that you end up throwing at them. Like from a build quality standpoint, they both feel very good. But the iPhone 16 does miss out on a few things that the Galaxy S25 does have. Like the S25 has things like reverse wireless charging and, a better feeling phone and a triple camera setup. The iPhone 16 doesn't really give you that. And the iPhone 16 doesn't even give you like reverse wireless charging. Like I feel like that in and of itself is also like another really basic thing for a phone to have. And unfortunately, this device isn't really giving you that there. So I feel like that in and of itself is another one of those small, tiny issues that you might end up experiencing if you go through and pick up one of these types of devices. So that right there kind of is a big thing for the iPhone 16. When it comes down to the price tag, they're both relatively around the same exact price. So there isn't really that big of a difference here when it comes down to that side either. Like you're going to be getting pretty much the same type of experience here. So, the $800 for the Galaxy S25 and for the iPhone 16. However, a big thing to keep in mind here is that with the iPhone 16, that phone has been out for a little bit of time now. So you could go through and basically buy that phone because it doesn't necessarily cost, you can get it in the used market basically. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too are the cameras. So both these cameras are pretty good, they're definitely not that great, but the iPhone 16 is not as great compared to the Galaxy S25. The iPhone 16's camera is a 48 megapixel wide and a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, whereas on the Samsung Galaxy S25, that phone is going to be giving you a 50 megapixel wide, 10 megapixel telephoto, and then a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. So this right there, I think, is a very important thing to keep in mind because that type of device and that type of camera is going to be giving you an overall better type of experience, as far as I can tell, than the iPhone 16. They both can do 4K at 60 on the front and the back, which is great. I love having it. But the Samsung Galaxy S25 is also giving you 8K at 30 on the back. that is in and of itself a really nice thing to have. And I do feel like if I'm going to go through and pick up a phone, I love having a phone that's going to be giving me that type of camera layout. So I think that right there is a really big thing to keep in mind. I also think that if I'm once again going through and like picking up a device, it does kind of make a lot of sense for me to go ahead and buy a device that's going to be giving me a little bit more capability when it comes down to the camera layout. And for future reference, I think that's basically what I'm thinking about here. And it definitely makes a lot of sense in my personal opinion to look at a device like the Samsung Galaxy S25 as being the overall better one here in my personal opinion. So from that side too, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is software longevity. Now, I'm not really too sure at how long both these phones are going to last. If I had to kind of guess, I would say both these devices are probably going to end up lasting for, probably around the same time. Again, we have no idea which way this is going to go. Like they both could end up lasting like a long time or a short time, who knows? But I would probably say that for the most part, both these devices are probably going to be here for quite a bit of time. Now, if you're wanting the longer lasting one, maybe just by a little bit, it could be the Galaxy S25 just because this phone just came out recently. But even then, I don't think it's like necessarily the biggest deal in the world, but that's kind of what you're going to be experiencing when you're getting that type of device as well. So when it comes down to that side, both these phones are relatively probably around the same thing as far as I can tell too. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here are the batteries. The Samsung Galaxy S25 is going to be giving you a 4,000 mAh battery, where the iPhone 16 is going to be giving you a 3,561 mAh battery. So I do think that right there is another one of these very important things to keep in mind, because you're actually going to be able to go through and get somewhat of like a better performing device and a longer lasting phone from a battery life perspective on the Samsung Galaxy S25 as well. So kind of keep that in mind too when it kind of comes down to it. Now I do think on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is that with the Samsung Galaxy S25, this phone is going to be giving you that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset inside with 12 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 16 is going to be giving you that Apple A18 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. So when it does kind of come down to this type of, devices performance, this types of, device performance in general, the iPhone 16 is still going to be a very fast phone. You're still going to be able to do a lot of stuff with it. And I do think if you are going to go through and pick up a phone, that's a pretty solid device. Like it looks beautiful, it looks great. And I do think this is one of those types of phones that I look at as probably being a really good device. With the Samsung Galaxy S25, this is probably going to be the overall faster one. I feel like if you are going to go through and pick up a device, that's the one that might make a lot more sense for some people to buy, just because that is kind of the one that looks, it's going to be giving you better, better chipset inside, and it's going to be giving you more RAM inside as well. So I feel like that right there is another one of those really big things to keep in mind. So to sum it up, I think the iPhone 16 is a good phone, but I don't think it's really like even that great of a phone compared to the Samsung Galaxy S25. The Samsung Galaxy S25 is going to be giving you a way better display, way better camera, way better performance, way better everything across the board, even better battery, maybe better battery life, but reverse wireless charging. Like there's overall more flagship features inside of something like the Samsung Galaxy S25 rather than something like the iPhone 16. So that's kind of how I see both these devices somewhat holding up from this particular situation. I don't think there's a bad choice here, but I'd probably say that the Samsung Galaxy S25 is probably the better one when it kind of comes down to it from that side. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.